welcome to my channel. This video is for a fall ruffle wreath. If you haven't done so, please subscribe and don't forget to tap that bell for notifications on my uploads and live streams. Using a 10-inch deco poly mesh. This has got a gold sheen to it. I really love it. I know when the light hits it, it's going to be really, really pretty. Okay, so you just want to roll this out, and I'm going to cut it at 24 inches long. And I'm using this Fiskars mat and rotary cutter. If you don't have a rotary cutter or mat, just use scissors, but try to cut it as straight as possible because that is going to reduce your fraying. So try to cut, even when you have a rotary cutter, you still got to be careful and try to cut it straight. So I'm going to cut the whole roll of mesh and get it at as close to 24 inches as possible. You need a total of 14. So when I get to the end here, I have a really long piece. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to use that whole long piece. And what I would have been better is once I got to 12 pieces, if I had just taken what was left on the roll and cut it in half. For the last two pieces, it would have been a little bit more even. Instead of having one long piece, I would have had two longer pieces, and I could have attached one on one end of the wreath and one on the other end. But I didn't even think about it. And there I cut off the end because it was all messed up. Now, if you get this wreath kit, I am supplying you with 16 chenille stems. You need 14 for the wreath form and 2 for the sign. I cut mine in half because I don't like using full pieces, but you may not like that because it is kind of difficult once you get the ribbons and everything to tie them down. But they are the perfect length if you cut them in half, because otherwise when you get done you're going to have to either cut them down or fold them under or curl them up or something. So I'm attaching on the inner wire, the inner middle wire, I'm attaching a chenille stem to every cross wire. So there's 6 total around the inner part, and this is a 14-inch wreath form. I don't suggest going any bigger than this if you only have one roll of 10-inch. So now I'm going to go around the outer 2 wires, and I'm attaching it to both the outer 2 wires. So you see how short they are, so that can get tricky. Now you want to attach them every 5 to 5.5 inches. It's not exact, and sometimes they do move around a little bit, so you do have to be careful of that. If you have a full chenille stem, what you can do is fold it over to the side, and you'll know where to attach your next chenille stem. But since I'm working with halves, I have to use the ruler. I'm sorry. So you'll end up with 8 around the outer part. You should have 6 on the inner and 8 on the outer, and you can use hot glue if they are sliding. You can use a little hot glue to kind of keep them in place if you need to. So again, you can use the full chenille stems if you prefer. Now I saw this little trick on another YouTuber's channel, and I'll try to put a link to her to give her credit for that. But if you have trouble curling these or knowing how much to curl them, that's a nice little trick. So you want to take your mesh and you want to curl it, and I always do it upside down, do the mesh upside down and curl it over. You want to give it at least one good roll, and then you want to ruffle, and then you want to curl the other end. And curling it not only makes the ruffle look prettier, but it puts the cut ends underneath. So I turn this back over right side up before attaching it to the wreath, so the curls are under. And so you're not seeing those cut ends on top or on the sides, and so you're going to have less fraying as well. So I really like that. And then you just want to kind of spread those out a little bit, but don't mess with them too much. Again, you can kind of make them fray if you mess with them too much. So I'm doing it on my own. Again, I turn it upside down. Give it a good roll, at least one full roll. Start ruffling, and then roll that other end, and then continue ruffling, and then turn it back over. And then attach it to your wreath. And you can start wherever you want to start. It doesn't matter. You can start at the top, the bottom. You can go back and forth. It doesn't matter. And you want to pull those chenille stems as tight as you can and give it 1 to 2 good twists. And this is what I was talking about. You know, I'm not working with a lot of chenille stem there, so it is more difficult to twist them, get them tight. So you may want to use a full one unless you've done this a few times. I'm going to show you another ruffle just to make sure that you've got it. Curl, curl, then ruffle, ruffle, and then turn it back over. And I just find it easier if I turn the deco mesh upside down to do the curl and ruffle. you may not. Everybody has their own kind of little technique, so just find the technique that works best for you. And again, you want to give that a good couple of twists. And here is the last piece, that really long piece. So I'm going to roll it pretty good. I'm going to give it a couple of rolls, and then you can see I'm ruffling a lot more because it's double the size, and it is going to make a bigger ruffle. But once I get all the decorations on, the ribbons and the sign and everything, you won't be able to tell. It will just make it look fuller in that section, which is why I said, you know, it would be better to have 2 long pieces instead of 1 long piece. That way, opposite ends of the wreath will have a long piece. You'll just have to remember when you're attaching the mesh to put those 2 long pieces on the opposite ends. And then you're going to be able to see the wreath form under these the mesh ruffles a little bit in spots, and that might freak you out at first. Don't worry about that. You still haven't decorated it, so don't, you know, I know it, you may look at it and think, hey, it's not as full as I thought it should be, or it's not as full as what yours looks like, but it will. You do want to kind of spread them out, and with using a chenille stem, if you need to twist any of them to make them look better, you see that, how I kind of twist, you can kind of twist them and turn them if you need to. But I promise you can see my wreath form in spots. You may be able to see that. So now I've got 4 ribbons, and I've got 7 12-inch strips cut in this. And if you bought the wreath kit, I've already pre-cut those for you. And you should have 7 of each pattern. And I am going to layer the pumpkins with the buffalo check, and then the trucks with that green and white, or green and orange gingham. So you want to cut your ends of your ribbons and make them look pretty. These are called dovetails or V-shape. And then you just want to, you can, 2 ways to do this. This is not the common way. It's a way that I came up with. It's an X, and then just gather it like that, and they will be, when you attach them, they will stay in that X pattern. So it's a little bit different look. You can try that if you want. Now this is the classic look that everybody does with the spikes. You just fold them in half, you layer them, fold them in half, and then gather them where you creased them in the middle, and then attach them right there. And I'm going to do this in the classic ribbon spike for everybody. But again, you can try that other way if you want to do something a little different. And you do want to make sure those ribbons are kind of curled under as well, those ribbon spikes. And then you want to, and I like to undo the chenille stem and put the ribbon spikes on top of the mesh, and then retwist those chenille stems. And make sure you give it at least 2 good twists. And then you want to pull apart those ribbon spikes really well, so they're all separated and you can see the pretty designs. And I'm just going to try to alternate where every time I attach a different one. There, you know, you're going to end up, once you get it all filled in, you're going to have, of course, you're going to have some of the same pattern, you know, underneath the other one or whatever, since you're only working with 2 sets. But it's going to look really pretty when it's done. So again, you want to pull those apart, and then you can kind of curl them too, because you kind of want them to curl under a little bit and flow with the wreath. Just kind of curl around the mesh. Now I'm going to go quickly through this. See where I'm curling them. And this should be the last one right here. You can see the light hitting that pretty mesh and the way it's got that real pretty sheen to it. Again, I'm pulling those apart, and they will get messed up as you're decorating the wreath too, and you will have to go through and kind of pull them apart again and kind of curl them under again, so don't worry about that. And you can see that I've got them all attached, so everywhere that a ruffle is attached, I've got 2 ribbon spikes attached. So that makes it look really full and pretty. There isn't going to be a bow on this wreath. There's no bow. If you don't want ribbon spikes, you can make a bow as well, and I have plenty of bow tutorials if you'd prefer to do that. I got these beautiful signs from Personalize It by Pam. She sells on Etsy. There's other people that sell these signs as well. I just picked somebody to try. I I will give you two cable tie mounts to put on the back of yours, and I would suggest using E6000 glue to glue those like that. And then you run those two chenille stems that I provided through those cable tie mounts to hang it. Now, yeah, E6000 like that. And they come in small tubes as well. But those are sticky, but I don't trust that. Now on mine, I went ahead and just punched holes in these. These are tin signs, or they're aluminum signs. They're heavy. They're not like real easy to bend or anything. So you had the option too on these signs whether I can punch the holes in them for you, or if you just want the cable tie mounts. So I just running my chenille stems through there, and you will be able to see that just a little bit on the wreath, but it's not a big deal to me. Now you just want to find a spot between the mesh to run your chenille stems through. You do not want to push your chenille stems through the mesh. You can tear the mesh up and make it fray. So just find some gaps between those ruffles, and then put them through the wire of the wreath form. Here I go again. I'm going over this ribbon and ruffle. I'm putting one chenille stem over it and one under it. So my sign is right there in the middle, and you don't want to push the sign down too far. You want it to be kind of the focal point of the middle of your wreath. So just kind of get it where you want it, and then you'll flip your wreath over. Start attaching your chenille stem. Sometimes I hold it like this and go ahead and start attaching it and see if it's where I want it, and then flip it over. So you want to twist those really good. You want the sign on there snug, but you don't want it too tight and you don't want it too loose. And then you want to make sure you're wrapping that chenille stem around the wreath form all the way, so it's not sticking out and scratching anybody's door or anything. So just make sure that's wrapped around the wreath form, and then take the ends of the chenille stem and wrap it around the wreath form as well. So it's nice and secure. And it is done. This is an easy wreath. I love it. I think it's so pretty. It's simple. Those signs are so vivid and gorgeous. Now, this particular wreath form or wreath kit came with some flowers. So some of the wreath kits did not come with any flowers or anything, so you are done. But if yours came with flowers, this is the next step. So you should have 4 or 5 stems of sunflowers, and at least two of those sunflowers will have a smaller sunflower on it too. So you can attach them together like I'm doing here, or you can separate them and spread them out even more if you want. I'm going to leave the small one attached to the big one, but you don't have to do that. So just spread them out evenly around your wreath, or you can put them all in kind of one central location, or just at the top. So you just want to take that stem, which has a wire in it, and you just want to weave it through your wreath form, and then I curl it up or bend it and get it on there as good as I can, and then I'm taking these 4-inch cable ties to secure it to the wreath form. That way it won't come undone. So you just want to pull that tight and then cut it off, and I will give you some of these cable ties as well. And I'm doing at least 2 per stem, just to make sure that it's on there really securely. You see it's weaved through the wreath form, and then it's secured with these, so they should not come off. And then you can kind of bend them as well. So you don't want to pull them too tight into the wreath. You want to leave some space so you can kind of move them around a little bit. So don't pull them down in there too far. So I attached one on one side, and then I'm going to the opposite side with the other one, and then I'm going to space out the other ones. So you don't have to do it that way. You don't have to do them evenly around the wreath. You can just do them around the top, or you could do a grouping on the top and then grouping on the bottom, or diagonal. You could do one kind of like northeast and the other one southwest. So it just depends on what look you want. If you want it to look like this, then you can do it just like this. And I think I have more of them around the top than I do at the bottom, like top and middle, and then around the bottom. There's only one at the central bottom. See how most of them are at the top. So just whatever look you like. I think I had 5 stems, so I'm not sure if everybody got the same amount of stems. I got like 2 big bushels of them and then split them up evenly. Okay guys, thanks for watching. I hope this video helped. I hope it was informative. Please subscribe, share, like, comment. Please be kind with your comments. Please be kind to others, and happy crafting, everyone.